This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nope, that's fine. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dick Kilhart, and I am the chair of the JTC, and we'll be moving through today's agenda. Brad had sent most of you that information, so we'll move on. Are there any folks out there that have any public comments? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move forward to approval of the March 8th, 2023 minutes, which were also sent to all of us prior to today's meeting. So certainly, they just posted those up there. So I would entertain a motion to accept those as presented.
I'll make a second.
Who seconded that, George?
Travis did from
Okay.
North Central Mass, and George motioned.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Okay, we'll move forward. Brad?
No, that's fine. I'm just checking things off as we go along.
Oh, okay. Moving forward to item number 4, the Unified Work Plan. We'll talk about review and discussion of that draft. Sherry, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
That's me. So before we go over the budget, I just want to let everybody know that the UPWP has a final draft that is ready to go out for public comment. So I'm hoping that we can get a consensus to push that to the MPO for next week. But as part of the UPWP, we have our tasks already lined out. So first, we wanted to let everybody know that, as you can see, I think the budget's still on the screen. So yeah, all 4 different types of tasks are listed right in front of you for the budget. And those tasks are, let's see, did I actually put that down? Yes. So we have the management and support, highway surveillance, transportation planning, and multimodal planning activities, which is typically our transit type tasks. So we have our usual tasks where we support the UPWP process and the TIP development. And then we have GIS mapping, data collection, which is our traffic count program, and other types of data collection, and then pavement management. Those are the ones that we usually typically do every single year. So this year we did our task solicitation. We had 3 requests come in, like I reviewed last month. We had Groton with a multimodal connections project, North County Land Trust with some trail planning and overall planning, and then Townsend had a corridor study that they were looking to have. And we did a geographic inequity analysis, and we ended up not accepting Townsend's request, more based on the geographic equity. We've done a lot of work in Townsend's. We're just trying to spread out the projects that we do throughout the region. So for the tasks that we did go through, we did the North County Land Trust planning and mapping task. This will be a 2-part task. So the first part is trail planning, where we'll work with the North County Land Trust to conduct trail inventories for all their properties, as well as ground truthing some of the trail distances and difficulties for their existing trails. We'll look at potential trail connections within their properties and beyond, and then trying to establish some linkages to those properties to create more of a trail network. And then also we'll be doing a mapping component where we'll create trail maps for all their properties, as well as a regional map suitable for professional printing, which is the end goal for that, as well as an interactive web map for their website, so they can do more trail related activities. For the second task, we have multimodal connections, which focuses in the town of Groton. We did an existing walkability study for them back in 2012. So they're requesting an update to that. That mostly focuses on their extensive trail networks and how they can get to and from those trail networks by bike paths or sidewalks, not necessarily just on the town center like we did back in 2012. So we'll incorporate some complete streets concepts and finding multimodal connections to the town trails, schools, parks, cultural and historic venues, etc. throughout town. So now we'll go to the budget. First, does anybody have any questions on the tasks that we have listed? No? Okay, perfect. So for the budget, MassDOT tends to like us to have for each section, so section 1, 2, and 3, to be relatively close in total budget amounts. So you can see for section 1.0, the total budget is 265,000 or so. So I think all 3 of those are around, say, 250. They're like in that ballpark. So we're pretty much right there for the numbers to be somewhat similar. And then the transit tasks are usually not included in that analysis. I think everything else is all set for the budget. You can see that they're broken down into 2 different categories. You have the FHWA, FTA, which is typically 80% of the total, and then MassDOT, which is 20%. That's how the dollars are broken down. So if anybody has any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, we are looking to get a motion to have this budget and draft UPWP go before the MPO and be released for a 21-day public comment at the MPO meeting next week. That's all I have.
Any questions for Sherry? Before we would move to take a vote on that recommendation for the MPO.
I have a recommendation for next time. We should review the definition and the work for each task to know what's going on.
Yep, the whole draft document, George, is going to be available at the MPO meeting next week. And then the entire document will be part of that public review and comment period. So it will be listed on our website. But you're right, I could definitely put up some of those newer tasks. Is that what you're looking for, the newer tasks, or all of them?
All of them, because some people, they don't know between the new and old.
Okay, yeah, that'll be, like I said, that'll be on the draft document.
A summary of each, you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we have the whole, like I said, the whole document's going to be presented to the MPO next week for them to give the go-ahead to release it publicly. So, but it will be up on our website, by this time next Wednesday.
Brad, do we need a formal vote for that recommendation?
No, just need a consensus that the MJTC recommend the MPO release the draft UPWP for a 21-day public review and comment period.
Is there anyone that's on the call today that doesn't want to move forward with that recommendation? I don't see any, and I don't hear any, so I think we can move forward with that for the MPO next week.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward to item number 5, the 2024 through 28 TIP program. And
That would be Brian.
Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Yep, so just like the UPWP, will be looking to get the MPO to release for a 21-day public comment period, 24 through 28 TIP. We have a draft available that will go out to MPO members today, and it includes the preferred target projects, which the MJTC had preferred last month. So those were ultimately developed into the TIP, along with the statewide priorities presented by MassDOT and transit projects, which are prioritized by the Transit Authority, MART. So as I mentioned, at next week's MPO meeting, we will suggest we'll entertain a motion to release this for a 21-day public comment period. And I guess after I review the projects today with the JTC, we're looking for, I guess, a consensus to the MPO to release the draft document. So first I'll go over the projects. In the original mailing, we had this spreadsheet here of the highway projects. It's a little bit confusing because it lists some projects in years that they don't necessarily occur in, but the dollar amount's zeroed out. So I have this supplemental handout that I'll bring up in a moment if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, so this is basically all the highway projects that is in the draft tip, and the olive shaded rows are target projects. These are the projects that we've been discussing the last few months. You can see in 2024 we have for a target project Leominster reconstruction of Route 12. It's listed here 3 times because we have 3 different funding sources, so there's 3 line items. That's the only project in 2024, and we fund the whole project in this year. Previously, it was advanced constructed over multiple years, but in the draft version that we're planning on putting out, it's just in 2024. The statewide projects are in white. These are priorities set by Mass DOT. In our region, we have Fitchburg bridge replacement or related work on Water Street over Boulder Drive and Pan Am Railroad. In Athol, intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Avenue. Fitchburg, Leominster, Twin Cities Rail Trail construction phase 2. This is the first year of a 3-year project for this project. It's also listed in 2025 and 26. Also in Fitchburg and in Ashby, resurfacing and related work on Route 31. In Athol, Phillipston, Templeton, bridge preservation, 8 bridges crossing Route 2. For 2025 target projects, we have 1 project, Ashburnham Road Rehab on Route 101 South. In 2025 for statewide, we have Hubbardston bridge replacement, Williamsville Road over the Burnshire River. The 2nd year of Fitchburg, Leominster, Twin Cities Rail Trail construction phase 2. Sterling stormwater drainage improvements at Wachusett Reservoir on Route 110. Lancaster, Leominster interstate maintenance and related work on I-190, and Athol bridge replacement, Route 2A, which is Main Street over the Boston Main Railroad. In 2026, target projects, Templeton reconstruction of Route 68, Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road from Route 2 to the Airtown line. This project's also listed in 2027. Statewide, we have Fitchburg, Leominster, Twin Cities Rail Trail, the last year of the phase 2 construction. Harvard, Lancaster bridge replacement, Jackson Road over Nashua River. Fitchburg improvements in Memorial Middle School, the Safe Routes to School project. 2027 target projects, Athol intersection improvements at Route 2A and Brookside Road. The 2nd and final year of Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road. In Clinton, reconstruction of Sterling Street, which is Route 62 from Willow, Lawrence Street to Main Street. 1 statewide priority project in Gardner in 2027, bike path construction, North Central Pathway over Route 140. And that's a bike path bridge construction. 2 target projects in 2028, Fitchburg reconstruction of John Fitch Highway in Sterling, intersection improvements, Route 140 and 62. There are no statewide set projects for 2028. So those are the highway projects which we've developed into the draft. And we also have a handout on the transit projects.
Any questions for Brian on those as presented?
Hey, Brian, it's
Similarly-
Brian down at Winchendon.
Yep.
My Blair Square project got cut.
Well, we had considered that for 2028, I believe, in one of the scenarios, but ultimately what we preferred going forward was we listed the Sterling project. That was included in one scenario, which we had things moved around a little bit. Ultimately, the scenario we chose keeps that in the appendix. It is a new project, so certainly we understand that the status on the design is moving forward. So it's certainly a candidate to move up next year.
So we're on track to be 100% complete this year.
Right, yeah, and there's a possibility when we revisit this next year, there is a definite possibility of having funding available actually in 2025 for projects to move up as well. So
That's what's being pushed right now. That's what we're trying to make happen.
that's great to hear, because we will be looking for projects, and as anything can happen throughout the year as well. So when we revisit it next year, we weren't able to fit it on the list this year because of fiscal constraint, and also, the design is in front of us now at 100%. So certainly we'd be looking to move that forward, especially if it's at 100%.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I'll just throw in too. Sorry, Brian. I was just gonna say, if in Mass DOT, as they're reviewing the project and stuff, and they feel more comfortable that it's ready to go 2025 or any other time, we can always do an amendment during the year to make it to place it where it needs to be, so that it gets out the door quicker.
And as many of you know, we come back and we reanalyze this next spring, starting next winter again. So it seems like it never ends. So, but anyways, those highway projects were the preferred scenario by the JTC at last month's meeting. So currently, that's what's in the draft. The transit side, again, these are set by the Transit Authority. There's a number of different types of projects here, and I won't go over each one in detail. They cover the same federal fiscal years as the highway side, 2024 through 2028. And basically, they include things like a rehab of various smart facilities, purchase of equipment, purchase of buses and vehicles, that type of thing. There are a number of different projects over the 5 federal fiscal years. So this is also included in the document as well. And just as a reminder, we spend a significant amount of time reviewing the target projects, target highway projects, because that is sort of where we have discretion on project placement. So these statewide and transit projects, we have less discussions on, because it's sort of not set by us or the NPO. So in any event, these are all the federally funded projects that are included in the 24 through 28 tip. And as I mentioned before, we're looking for a consensus and a recommendation to the NPO to release this for a 21-day public comment period at its meeting next week.
Are there any other questions or comments, concerns, or can we move forward with a consensus from the group for next week's MPO? Seeing and hearing none, I think that means yes. So we'll move forward to item number 6, the regional transportation plan update.
Okay, I have a couple of ones for that. Brian, do you want me to take control of it? And
Sure. Yep.
all right, you give me control.
Should be all set, Brad.
All right. I want to do no. Where are my stuff? Where's my stuff? That is not what I wanted. Let me just see right now. Nope, that is not the one I wanted to share. Let me find my thing again. I want to share. Window. It's not showing me my. Oh, okay. All right, let me just jump to. The first thing I'm going to go over is some information on the public survey we had out. Um, I'm just going to go over the questions and the results of some of the analysis that we got through the survey review. We've got approximately like 303 surveys responses that we entered into SurveyMonkey either by hand from the different boxes we left out at the libraries and senior centers around the region, or directly were entered into SurveyMonkey by individuals that we presented at some of our public workshops and also with different other events we had going on and notices that we sent out. So some of these are just basic questions. First, you want to see question 3, which relates to are you an elected or appointed individual, a public employee, or a member of the general public? You can see from here the majority were members of the general public, about 68%, 69% of the people. 24% were public employees, and only 7% were elected officials. Whoop, too fast. In question 4, we asked what your primary method of travel is in a week pre-pandemic. Their choices were drive alone, commuter rail, car or van pool, and so forth. Vast majority were drive alone, about 84% of the individuals. We follow this up with the second question that asked, what is your primary method post-pandemic? And again, the same responses of drive alone, commuter rail, and so forth. And in this one, there wasn't much change. Drive alone remained at about 84%, 83, 84%. There was a slight increase, I think, in car or van pool. We went from car or van pool previously 5.4% to just over 6%. So there really wasn't a big change, though, overall in the type of method of travel for people. Question number 6 asked about the average length of their commute. One way, again, prior to pandemic, the largest response was 36% was about 15 to 30 minutes of travel time, followed closely by less than 15 minutes of travel time at 27, 28% total. And again, we asked this after the pandemic if this had changed, and really it kind of remained the same. The less than 15 minutes had increased slightly to 32%. The 15 to 30 minute commute remained at 32 odd percent, so down from 36. So it still remained mostly the same. There wasn't a whole lot of change in the breakdown. Following question was the major question in the survey was ranking in importance from 1 to 10, most important to least, following issues that need to be addressed in your travel over the next 25 years. So we gave them a number of options such as road maintenance and infrastructure, transit options, congestion, pedestrian bike accessibility, safety, road and highway, economic development, residential development, climate change and environment, changing demographics, or improve the town center. We had the same type of question for the last RTP in 2020. We asked them to rank it from, again, 1 to 10, or if they had $10 in maintenance, transportation funds to spend, how much would they allocate to each one? But in this year, we just asked them to do it 1 through 10, from most important to least. So from those responses, I thought I had skipped something, but so looking at those responses, they came out this way. The ranking from this survey from 1 to 10, road maintenance came out on top, followed by safety, road and highways, then transit options, congestion, pedestrian bike accessibility, and economic development, and so forth. In this third column, you'll see the 2020 RTP rank, where it ranked according to that survey for the last RTP. And you can see road maintenance infrastructure maintained its number 1 ranking among individuals. But there was a change in number 2 ranking. The prior RTP transit options were more prevalent as a requirement or something they would like to see looked into. That dropped down to number 3, and the safety moved up. Safety actually moved up 2 spots from, it was number 4 in 2020 up to 2024. So safety has gained a bit in the overall scheme of things from what people were looking at. And then we had basically a few other changes. Congestion moved up 2 spots. So you can see the rideability and the ability for people to travel to and from their businesses or their work, the place of work, seems to be the overall feature in these rankings, because you've got road maintenance, safety, and congestion as the three of the top four individuals. Pedestrian bicycle activity dropped down from a 3 to a 5. I think people are more interested now in, again, the congestion and the safety issues within the roadway network. And these are the rest of the individual responses and how they compare to the last RTP. This information will help us in establishing our planning scenarios, which I'm going to discuss next. So first of all, are there any questions on the roadway survey, the public survey responses?
Can I ask a quick question? This is Jackie Doherty from Ethel.
Yep.
Did you take, as someone who commuted for 23 years from Ethel to Boston every day, I know that it took several hours, like more than a minimum of 4 hours total every day, to travel to Boston. And then COVID hit, and now I'm remote. I mean, I do go in occasionally, but did you take into consideration the people that are now remote?
We didn't ask directly if they were remote, and I think we hope to see some of that in the questions 6 and 7, which asked about the length of commute. I think what I need to do is to go back and look at these responses a little bit more and see the actual number of respondents to see if there's any change that way. There were some responses under other, which could be the remote work. So I'll have to do a little more digging into the responses back on this. But I think hopefully it'll be reflected in questions 6 and 7. But I don't have a definite answer for you right now.
That's okay. I just wanted you to think about,
Yep.
consider it, because it's
Yep.
it's so different now for so many people.
Yes, I know.
And speaking of traveling on Route 2, I had to drive in. I've had to drive in over the past couple of weeks several times to go into Mass General and Mass Ioneer, and the traffic was just like yesterday. It was a nightmare. I mean, so the roads are definitely congested. So I don't know if there have been people that have shifted instead of taking the commuter rail, because there's been a lot of issues with the commuter rail.
Right.
But timeliness, if they've switched to driving.
Sorry. We do have a couple of questions related to mode of transportation, so I want to, but I didn't include them right now because, again, I didn't have enough time to delve into them
Oh
deeply.
no, I
think maybe we might see some reflection in that when we look at the individual breakdowns on the modes of transportation. And again, just your point about the remote travel, just a quick aside that says that we need to look a little deeper. In question 6, when we asked pre-pandemic, we had 291 responses. Post-pandemic, we had 277 responses. So for some reason, 20-odd people didn't respond on question 7. So we need to look a little more deeper in that. And maybe they didn't respond because now they're working remote. So there might be some in the, we asked other, and please specify. So there may be some notes in there we'll take a look at and see what they say.
I just don't know if now, that impacts how you will, like for spending, how, you know what I mean? How that will impact what you do first as far as improving the roads or move, we still need to have transit.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in the second part of this on the planning scenario we'll be talking about. But and I agree with you say about the congestion going back up there. We've seen that the travel patterns are starting to get back up to pre-pandemic. So and you're right about the other problems on the T. We have some statistics on the commuter rail lines that we'll be looking at and seeing if we see a correlation there. So we still have a few analysis to run through, but we're getting there.
Sorry to be such a pain, but I was just things I was thinking about.
No problem. No problem. Those are the questions that we need to ask too. How many more people are remote travel? Is that going to be a trend that continues? And if it does, it has significant impacts on travel. And with the congestion, you can get away with and congestion you can't get away with. You know, more people you can take off of there and make them remote, you know, the better off we'll be.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other? Yep, sure. Any other questions? If not, I'll go on to the planning scenario side to talk about this. You may remember from the last RTP back in 2020, we were talked, the state sort of guided us into looking at planning scenarios for the region to help establish, you know, priorities and so forth. So some of this comes directly from the 2020 RTP, and it's going to be impacted again by the results we had from this survey and the comments we also received at our public input meetings and through different meetings that we've occurred in different workshops we've had that'll impact these planning scenarios. But I'm just going to go over what was in where we started with and how it might change. So back in 2019, actually, with the RTP was the 2020 RTP was endorsed. Massachusetts had put together a commission. They called it Choices for Stewardship Recommendations to Meet the Transportation Future. They compiled a report to look at different scenarios and look at different things and come up with some ideas. And basically, that Commission on Future of Transportation Planning in Massachusetts, they came up after looking at things and analysis of trends and other issues. They came up with 4 scenarios to develop. They're called Scenario 1, Gridlock, Scenario 2, Vibrant Core, Scenario 3, Multiple Hubs, and Scenario 4, Statewide Spread. So we took those initial concepts and looked at them and adapted them and created concepts for our region that were more appealing for Montachusett region. If you want more information on what these state scenarios were, you can find it in our 2020 RTP, and that is online on our website through the, we have the 2020 RTP up there. But what we did was we started this little process here where we took the trends and analysis from visions and goals, objective strategies, some of our demographics and the networks, and try to develop scenarios based on the public input in our RTP survey. And then that'll flow into the financial plan that we'll be doing in the financial analysis for the RTP. But I'm going to go over what we did prior and how it's going to be positively impacted by the results of our survey. So we started developing a scenario. We started with scenario status 1. On scenario 1, we call it status quo. And that sort of relates to the Commonwealth Commission's scenario of gridlock. That is, growth expected to continue in the Boston region without expansion of transportation capacity and so forth. But it means the region would just continue to fund transportation projects as they have been in the past. As problems come up, they'll be addressed one at a time. We'll stay with looking at, again, projects as they develop, as communities look at them, as opposed to trying to advance fund or project problem areas and try to get those projects addressed before they become gridlock or a major issue and a major funding problem. So again, our status quo summary is the population household growth will continue. Employment continues to decline in the Montachusett region, and that's from the projections that the state has done. But basically, it just highlights that things are going to continue as they have been in the past. The second scenario we developed was called multiple hubs, and this plays off of the Commission's scenario of multiple hubs. But when we define multiple hubs, we're talking about each community maintaining its core, maintaining its what is it? There's a greater emphasis on improving and maintaining long-distance major roads and networks. Those communities that are thought of as rural, small bedroom communities maintain that lifestyle. Those that are commercial hubs, such as Fitchburg, Leominster, and so forth, would maintain that core and continue to be the major commercial hubs. Major employment centers will remain where they are, and there'll be people traveling to there. So again, it's like an intercommunity going from one community to the next. People will be going to Fitchburg or Leominster to shop, and then they'll be going to Devens to work, things like that. So by maintaining that those multiple hubs, you want to improve your connection between one community and the next. So what we ended up doing at that time was we looked at past funding through the TIPS. And we ended up seeing that in the past, over a 10-year period, most of the projects could be classified as road maintenance. 60% or so were classified as maintenance and infrastructure improvements, and so on and so forth. But if we wanted to promote this intercommunity connection, the thought was we would adjust the funding so that, and again, this is based upon the 2020 survey. The roadway maintenance should get the majority of the funding because that came out as the top priority. Transit options was second. So we thought, all right, if 40%, if we looked at our target funding and tried to allocate 40% of those funds to roadway maintenance and infrastructure, the breakdown for this scenario, we want to put the majority of those funds towards a road such as a Route 12 or Route 13 or 119 or 140 and so forth that provide connections between communities. We want to put the majority of funding into those types of roads. So we'd allocate about 30% of the funding to intercommunity roads and 10% to the remaining roads in the region. And this is the breakdown that we had for scenario 2, the multiple hubs. The third scenario we came up is kind of the opposite of that. It's called strong community centers, where each community looks to develop their own residential, commercial, employment centers, a strong downtown area where people come to shop, work, travel to, they bike to, they walk to, and so forth. So it's staying within the community as opposed to traveling outside the community. So it's an intra-community network is where the majority of the funds need to be addressed and need to be placed. So maintaining that same ranking of roadway maintenance, transit, pedestrian as the top 3. We keep the same percentages, funding 40% of the highway fund should go to road maintenance infrastructure. But under this scenario, that 30%, the majority, would go to the intra-community roads, those little sections within a Leominster, within a Fitchburg, within an Athol, to help the people travel within their own community. And so that's the breakdown we'd look at. So we're in the process now, too, of reviewing how we did since the last RTP in terms of allocating those funds and to see what kind of breakdowns if we sort of tried to maintain this option. I will tell you it's a little difficult because a project such as we've been talking about Route 12 in Leominster, that has many different aspects. It's not only a congestion relief and a roadway maintenance project, but it also provides some safety improvements. So, a project has multiple benefits throughout. So we have to look at to see how we can judge whether it's more of a climate change environment project or if it's more of a congestion project. So we'll be making those decisions as we go further into the analysis. So these are the scenarios we're starting with, but right now we're looking at the survey and the questions and responses and comments we've got. So what we'd end up doing is going up one too many. No, we're at it. Oh, so we go back to our survey responses where roadway maintenance maintains its importance to the people who responded, but safety has now moved up. So there may be a need to go back and look at these breakdowns of funding, and maybe safety, instead of only looking at 9% funding towards it, we should maybe bump that up to 10 to 14% of our funding. So that's what will come out of the review of the comments and the survey, and that's how we'll then take and adjust these planning scenarios, and that will then flow into the financial plan where we'll look at trying to find projects and trying to force projects to address these different type of planning scenarios. That, in a brief nutshell, is what I have on the planning scenarios. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. Go back to here. That's where we stand on the RTP development. So we'll finalize those different scenarios. We'll bring back that information to the JTC, and then we'll move on to the financial plan analysis. That's it.
Thank you, Brad. Moving forward to item number 7, today's agenda, the contract status report, starting with the up again.
FTA. George, do you have anything for FTA in transit? Oh, you're muted, George. No?
Okay,
Oh,
now,
there you go.
yes, I just have one update on the advisory board meeting held last month. As you know by now, the Board of Selectmen for the town of Townsend has voted to petition to join MART. And MART Advisory Board at their scheduled meeting on March 9 last month has voted to accept the town of Townsend as MART a new member community. And now MART region total has become 25 communities. We are serving them and providing transit services to all these communities. And other than that, really, I don't have any new update. Thank you.
Okay. I'll bring you the next status report on MassDOT transportation planning. The MPO, as we stated, will be meeting next week on Wednesday, April 19th at 1 p.m. And the release of the draft tip, the new PWP, will be sought at that time. In addition, MART will be presenting some information regarding a tip amendment for the 2023 transit element of the current tip. So if the MPO approves to release that document as well, that'll be out for public comment. Then we have some handouts just for you to make note of. The first is on the Northern Tier newsletter. It's on the Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study, the newsletter from March 31st. The newsletter basically discusses the next step in the study process, which will be developing ridership forecasts for the 4 additional potential service plans that they want to investigate. The newsletter discusses some of the basics of the forecast development. This newsletter is available on our website under announcements. So if you're interested in getting some of the linking to the Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study website, you can do so through this announcement on our site. The next one we have is from Federal Highway. It's on planning and grant program update for review. Next one. Nope. Try one more. That one. There we go. Received a few emails updating us on grant and program updates, so I tried to combine it into one. This announces some existing programs that they're opening up to solicit applications for, and it provides information on how interested parties can apply. There's also some information on a webinar on transportation utility fees that was held back on April 5th. But if you're interested in the subject, which is, again, utility fees, transportation utility fees, I'm sure if you go through this website, go through this handout, it'll link you to the website, and I'm sure there's a recording of that webinar available for you to review at your leisure. This is also on our website, so the links will be available there. But you can see also there's a couple of programs they're announcing. One is the second round of the I think it's Safe Streets for All grant program for 2023. The notice of funding opportunities open. So if you have something that you're interested in there, that might be something to look at. Again, we did get a award for the Safe Streets for All from last year's round. We are in the process of working and discussing things with Federal Highway on when that contract will actually come through and when we can begin work on it. They're putting all the regulations and paperwork together so that we can then finally get the funding and get underway with this. We plan to hire an outside consultant to work on that safety action plan for the region. The next announcement I have is from MassDOT on a public information meeting on April 13th, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. It is on the Twin City Rail Trail Phase 2 project, which involves construction of a bridge over, I think, Nashua River and the rail. So tomorrow night, they'll be holding a virtual meeting. We'll be discussing, providing information on this project, where it stands. You saw it in the tip information Brian was presented earlier. So this is informational. And again, to register, you need to use the link there or the barcode, the QR code. And again, this is on our website, so if you want to attend later, you can come to the announcement page on our website. You'll be able to see this flyer and link and QR code, so you can register. The next one is another announcement from MassDOT on a virtual design public hearing, and that's on the bike path bridge over Route 140 in Gardner. This is part of the North Central Pathway. This meeting will be held on April 25th at 6:30 p.m. There's information again here on how to register and a QR code. So if anyone's interested in that, again, this is on our website, and you can link to it under announcements and be able to register for what's coming up. And then just a couple of other things off the top. We recently signed a contract with a traffic consultant to do traffic counts for us for this coming year. The Traffic Group Inc. was selected as the low bidder, so they'll be doing traffic counts for us throughout the season. We'll let you know how things go as we move along. This will be our second year using a consultant. Last year worked out fairly well, and we actually got 2 bids this year. We were able to do a comparison. Things will be moving forward on our traffic count program. And lastly, I just want to give a heads up. We're approaching that time of year where we will be sending out appointment forms for the MJTC to our communities, to the planning boards and departments, and to the boards of selectmen and mayor. I'm asking for appointments to the JTC. We'll inform them too of who our current appointees are. So just be on the lookout for that. In May is when we will be getting those out to communities. We'll try and get one to you also as part of that. The terms run from July 1st to June 30th. So we'll be getting those out to everybody. Just be on the lookout. If you're interested in retaining the representative position, we'll want that filled out and sent back to us. Or if you would like to find someone else to take your place, that's where they need to be nominated and reported to us. So just a heads up on that one. And that is all I have.
Okay, question for Brad? If not, under the second to the last item, administrative matters, the next JTC meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, would be Wednesday, May 10th.
Correct. And that'll also be part of during the public comment period for the TIP and UPWP. So comments can be made then about the draft documents.
Is there anything else that anyone from the group would like to bring forward before we move to adjourn? Seeing and hearing none, I guess we'll see you all next month, or some of us next week.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Day.
Yeah, bye.